Hi, I'm Pete, and welcome to Just a Few Acres Farm. The weather is beautiful. I've got another mixed bag video for you today. We've got some spring cleanup, rock picking of that field that I plowed, hopefully seeding that field that I plowed after prep. We've got some new guests on the farm. It's all in here, so let's get started. Gonna get a suntan today.
Yeah, I'm pretty white.
These ash are all dying in the hedgerows. That one's got carbuncles on it. That one too, growths. Pretty punky.
Yeah.
It'll burn though. I don't know what these growths are. They're hard and they're all over the ash trees next to it. We'll have to cut them down this fall. It's getting hot out here.
That sun is warm.
We'll have to get up and pick rocks before it gets too warm. This looks good. If you take a close look at the ground, you get a lot of this stuff, which I don't really care about. The cultimulcher is gonna pack them flat. They're just little things. We're just looking for the bigger ones, like fist size and bigger. This field's not that bad.
No, it isn't.
The worst part's where the pig pen was up there, because the pigs, when they root, they tend to knock the rocks up to the surface, and so that's where most of them are. This field is a lot better than the other fields. When we first took over the land back from leasing it and planted pasture, I used a drag to work up the soil, and the drag popped up just like a pig snout, every rock there was. We didn't have a bucket loader back then, but we had 10 rock pickers, 2 here, 2 there, and 3 kids, and we picked it into that yellow wagon we used for firewood. We'd pick a load and then we'd back it up to the woods and throw the rocks off by hand. It's not that bad of work if you're patient, right? I mean,
That's
you just
right.
say, well, I'm gonna just start here and methodically work through and do it piece by piece. I told the kids it builds character. Sleeper. I think that's it for now. Is this a union break?
It is.
Almost lunchtime.
It is.
Somebody made a run for it and dropped an egg along the way. That happens sometimes. We have some new arrivals on the farm. Hey, little peeps. Here's my broiler chick story. These are broiler chicks. There's 50 of them in this batch. We haven't lost a single one, and I'll get to that. We had problems finding broiler chicks back in late February, March. Everybody was sold out. Finally, we got them through Mount Healthy Hatchery. I think they're in Ohio, if I remember right. And we have 8 batches coming this year, 2 weeks apart. Well, last week they canceled the batch. Hatcheries sometimes they have what they call an underhatch, when fewer eggs hatch than they planned, and so they gotta cancel some orders. It's been a thing more than the last 5 years since COVID. It was a completely different chick market before COVID for us, easy to get chicks, never any delays, etc. Anyway, so they canceled the order last week and said, well, we're going to ship it this week. They did ship it. They shipped it yesterday morning. These chicks must have hatched soon after midnight because they arrived here at 10 in the morning. Hilarie went to pick them up at the post office at 10 in the morning, and they had hatched the same day. It's the fresh, well, we got chicks fresher one time. We got them through Moyers in Pennsylvania during COVID, and they actually trucked them up in a van, made a bunch of stops, and we got them the same day then too. It's a big difference when you get them the same day. They're not as voraciously hungry. These were much calmer. They weren't peeping and anxious to get to food as much. And we didn't lose a one the first night, and hopefully, it's a more vibrant, vivacious, hardy batch than one that's been in the mail for 1 day, 2 days, etc. They seem like a good bunch after you've had hundreds of batches come. You get to know a good hatch versus a not so good hatch, and I'm sure there's genetic factors as well. Chicks are Hilarie's job. I just came to check on them. The reason they came so fast, they came airmail. I imagine they loaded them into the plane soon after they hatched, and they were here an hour later. It's not a long flight from Ohio. Hilarie went to pick up the seed that I ordered for the field. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to disc the field one more time to break up any remaining clumps and level it a little bit and break the crust off of it. And then I'll go after it with the cultimulcher and then seed. Should have tied up the hydraulic hoses. They're off the hay bind, so they're awful long. Hilarie's home. I suppose fencing wire would work just fine for this. These plastic things. If I put a bolt through here, I didn't have a pin of the right diameter. It'll pull the wheels up when I retract the hydraulic cylinder and put more weight onto the disc. Probably a couple 100 pounds worth with the wheels and axles and frame. I wanted to put 2 nuts on this to lock them together so it doesn't vibrate loose. Let's see. Yep. Seed. weight on the disc. Not much, but some. My grandpa planted corn. He would disc behind the H. He had, I don't know what it was, 6-7 foot, might have been even a single disc, not tandem. Anyway, old disc always had a stone tray on the top of it, and we would stop and pick stones as we were discing. Probably if I were using this a lot, I'd build something to go on top of it to put rocks on counter on. I gotta quit screwing around and get this done. Daylight's burning. Done disking. Here's what we wind up with. Remember, we had big clods of grass plowing. They've broken down into these little guys. Break time. When we leased our land, the farmer tilled it every year. He actually plowed it. And I was never a fan of it. It looked like a moonscape, and I thought, look at all the stuff that's getting killed in the soil, all the systems that develop down through the soil that get disrupted. But it turns out that plowing up the soil does have its uses. You know, it's hard to say never to anything. You have to consider what the best option is given all of them. In the case of this field, and I explained this last fall, but I guess it bears repeating, this field was really rough. It had a pig pen in this part. The pigs had made it into a moonscape. It didn't have any seed in about 1/6 of it, where there was a vegetable garden at one time. It was never seeded, and the rest of the stuff had been seeded 25 years ago with a mix by a neighbor farmer the cattle didn't like. I would bring them onto here and they would pass over a lot of it. So the best option was plowing it, mainly to smooth it out, and also the opportunity to get rid of that stuff that the cows didn't like and put in the seed that I've put in the rest of the field. So you have to look at all your options. No-till, you know, zero disturbance of the soil, plowing, and figure out which is best for you. In this case, plowing is definitely the best. Filling in all the way. I've still got gaps, so I think I need to set the tines in a little further. That's much better. This is a cultimulcher. It flattens the seed bed, does final flattening, smushes those little rocks right into the ground flat. That's a ticket. Oh boy. Right down the woodchuck hole. Oh man. That'll work for now. All done. It's ready to seed, but it's getting late. The sun's getting low. Hopefully tomorrow morning it won't be too windy. Morning, cows. Hey, you. I guess it checked out. Busted grease fitting. Hope it's not metric. Oh, things I have to go through. It is metric, and I don't have a replacement, but I do have a chainsaw bar sprocket oiler that I can jam some in there with. I'll put the busted fitting back on so it doesn't get dust inside of it. This is the seed I'm using. I get it from Hilarie and I, which is a couple towns over. I won't buy seed at the big box store for obvious reasons. Two types, pasture mix and alfalfa. This one is Fesculoleum, some fescue, timothy, orchard grass, about 10% alfalfa, and about 10% clover. And this one from Ontario is just alfalfa. I like to put in about 20% alfalfa, or even more sometimes. So I use the broadcast spreader as my mixer. It'll all mix up as that thing whirls around in there. That's all the seed I'm going to need. 75 pounds. 30 pounds per acre minimum. I got about 2 acres, 75 pounds is plenty. I bought this old spreader at auction a long time ago. It works as much as I need it to. That door doesn't work. There's 2 doors. This one gets set about to the middle here. And instead of setting the spreader to 30 pounds an acre and trying to hit everything exactly, get my passes just right, I set it for like half that and wind up crisscrossing the field to make sure that I get even seed distribution. And of course, with a broadcast spreader, you always got to be aware of the wind. 3 miles per hour from the south. Check the seed coverage. See the seeds right there? I go all the way across and look and make sure I'm covering everything. Yep. This way's finished, now I go crossways. Done. Yep. See the seeds? You can't see the alfalfa because of their little round things, but you can see the grass seeds. A bunch of things about seeding in no particular order. I don't apply manure when I was spreading manure. I didn't put it on this field because there's already tons and tons of green manure in that soil decomposing from all the grass and the roots that I turned over and that are dying and rotting into the soil. It's a riot. It's a microbial riot in the soil with no manure. It doesn't need it. It's got plenty of nutrients. I don't do soil tests until late summer because of that, because there's so much going on in the soil. I don't think I would get an accurate reading until stuff breaks down more. And then typically I have to put 2 tons of lime top dressing per acre on the soil, and I do that at the end of the growing season in the fall, but it all depends on the pH readings from the soil sample. I don't plant any kind of annual cover crop like oats or rye to come through here, because what I do and what you'll see is this field will look like a complete mess all summer long because the weeds will come up first. They'll shoot right up. Some of these grass seeds take 6 to 8 weeks to germinate, especially the warm weather varieties. So it'll grow up all weeds, and instead of having a cover crop, I mow those weeds down before they go to seed, and it thatches the ground. It mulches the ground so that the seeds have a better environment to germinate and the ground holds more moisture for them. Typically I'll do that 3 times in the first year, mow the weeds down. And the first 2 times you'll say, it doesn't look like there's any grass seed in here, nothing's growing but weeds. But then by the third time, you start to see them come through. And then after liming and let it sit for the winter and that next spring, what happens is weeds are opportunistic, so they only grow in this kind of wild environment with all this stuff going on in the soil and nothing permanent can take root yet. They sprout up. Once the grasses come in, they get so dominant that they crowd out the weeds. That's the way all of our fields are. That's the way they were all developed. So that's some information in no particular order. I don't think I forgot anything, but let me see. Oh yeah, when I do the mowing of the weeds, I use a sickle bar mower, and it's definitely better than using a brush hog because it lays the grass flat. You get a nice even mulch instead of kind of heaps and clods that come out of a rotary mower. And rocks, well, we never get them all. So typically there's 3 pickings. After the weeds start to come up, we'll come through and pick them and then let it rain on the field. And when I do the first sickle bar mowing, I'll catch any of the rest. The next step is to ensure good soil contact with the seeds. So to do that, I'm using a Brilliant cultipacker behind the 504. It's a tired unit, but it can still do its job. For this, I just go round and around the field, round and around until I get to the center. I don't bother with half laps or cutting the field in half. Well, I thought this is goofy. Might as well put the bucket on, pick some rocks while I'm driving around. Can't forget that one. Easier to see now than when stuff starts to grow, I guess. A while to go through this because we're picking as we go, and Hilarie came out to help me. We've got most of them now. Done. Nice and flat. It's a little afternoon. The chances of rain go up into the afternoon, and I think it's 80% chance tomorrow. That'd be perfect timing. Starting to sprinkle. Perfect.